All right, welcome back to It's a Metal Thing. This is part 2 of the hood build. So let's get going. All right, so I have this piece of cold roll flat bar in here. It's sturdy, strong, straight. It's not gonna go anywhere. I have it clamped on. I have it a little long. It's gonna be a little long. I'm gonna lose an 1/8 inch because of the thickness of that blade. But it should be good. I don't mind that. So what I'll probably do is let it run long. I'll butt up to it, make sure that piece is straight on the face. And then I can grind the excess to it. Just making sure that that piece is straight in there. I'll clamp something on it, or maybe cut this down and clamp it in there and tack it on, and then it won't be an issue. Then I can grind up to it so it'll be nice and straight and square. When I cut something like this, long, thin sheet metal, I just make like a groove. I just work the groove. I don't try to cut all the way through. I just work back and forth slowly. Make sure the clamp is tight, vibration and the weight of that thing will move. So let's do it. So the video stopped. My phone is full, close to full. I had to do a bunch of clearing out before I finished cutting this off. So it's cut off a little long, which I don't mind. I'm gonna grind up to it. What I was thinking was it's gonna be kind of difficult to get the 16 gauge super arrow straight. So I went and bought some 4x8, which will lend itself to a straighter edge. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the width for this piece. It's gonna go on the front. I'm gonna clamp that cold roll flat bar on the front of it. I'm going to lay it on its back. I'm going to get it where it belongs. I'm going to tack it in, and then I'll grind that front to that surface so it's straight. So that's the plan. Got this flat bar fit. It's flush at the bottom here. It's flush and square on the end. It's straight. This piece of cold roll on here. So this, you can see there's some movement here. So you got to make sure this thing is tied up against here. So I'm going to get, and I'll come up and tack up underneath here. So that's what I'm going to do next. Pretty good. A little bit of movement in here. I'm gonna take a flashlight and shine it behind and get a better idea of how the gap is. Or if I want to tap it or cut it, I'll figure that out. So what's next? Moved on me a little bit. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little bit of a gap from like here to here. So I'm gonna have to cut those. I'm not gonna try to tap it. That stuff's too thin. Questioning my decision on that 16 gauge. That rolled so easy. I could have got away with 14, I think. Or definitely could have got away with 14. But it is what it is. So take my die grinder, little cutoff wheel. I'm gonna cut those loose and just, I gotta make sure they're really sucked down. So yeah, they're gonna be tight. All right, so I gotta do that now. I hate going backwards. Happy. I used that on the backside so I could get a better idea of if it was straight or not. So it's straight. I'm happy with how straight it is. This has a slight bow in it, but when I put the thing on the back to for the lip all the way around this, I can straighten that out a little bit. I'm gonna put little strip welds on the back, pretty close together. When I start grinding that, it's gonna get weird. I don't want it to move. When it expands a little bit from the heat, it'll raise up, and since it's on an angle, it'll be like a weird, it'll cause it to do weird things. So I'm gonna tie it down as best I can with as little heat as I can and grind it. Hopefully it ends up straight. That's it. So when I grind on this part. I don't grind out here. Grind out here, you leave gouge marks. This will still leave grind marks, but you won't be gouging it. So I try to stay in the middle where it's flattest. Let's see what we got. So, pretty smooth, pretty straight. Let's see what we got. Pretty flat, maybe a 16th in there. I can deal with that. So, I'm happy with that. I'll grind these puckers out, try to keep this crisp. It's gonna be corner to corner there. I don't want it rounded. I need to come back and weld inside here. Then I can grind all these off. I need to weld this before I get too carried away. This is just gonna be a quickie out here, but I need to put some good welds on the inside just for strength. So I'm gonna do that next. You don't need to see that. I'll get back to you here when you need to get back to. All right, so I got it all ground up. I'm happy with it. It's got a nice smooth radius. This is pretty straight and flat. A little bit of a bow, but nothing you ever notice. I have to weld up these seams here in the front. Grind those smooth. This is all pretty sweet over here, nice and flat and straight. Same thing over here, weld this up. Got a little pucker here. Got a little carried away when I was taking the brace out. So I'm gonna have to hammer that, flatten it out, and grind it smooth and flat. But other than that, I'm pretty happy so far. I'm going to probably fit the fan in there. I'll lay it on its back, get the 1-inch tubing down, put it in there and kind of see what kind of edge I have to put on there. So I'll do that next. Time to start mounting the fan. This is 1 by 1.5 095. The backsplash itself, it goes down here. That this sits on is 1 inch, so this will be clearance for the fan to land. So the fan will go right up against the backsplash. I have it drop down a 1/2 inch. I didn't want the backsplash to end and the fan to start because I was afraid to get some weird diagonal view. So I brought the fan itself down a 1/2 inch. So the fan only will stick down in front of the backsplash. So one piece of tubing will go here, obviously. One piece of tubing will go here. I'm gonna line it up, fix it up. But before I do that, I'm going to drill some holes in this. I put 1/4 inch plate, 1/4 inch flat bar in here. I plug weld it, and that way I have material enough to bolt to. Rather than try to do nut zerts or anything like that. So I'm gonna do that next. Ideally, you would have 1.25" flat bar, which I think I might. So we'll figure it out. For the backing, to make this tubing thicker, I went and got some 1.25". I didn't have any 1.25". I went to Home Depot to see if they had any, and they didn't. Then I stopped by. I did a drive-by the welding supply place. I'm in a really good spot, probably about 1/4 mile from here. There's a curve. It's like a corner, but it doesn't go anywhere else other than just curves. So on one corner is the steel store, the best steel store in the US, for sure. And then a welding supply place, literally like 90 degrees to it. So he closes at noon, but I saw his car out there, so he opened up and gave me 10 feet of 1/4 by 1.25". So thank you, Buzz. So I drilled these holes. This is what was in the drill press, somewhere around 5/16, big enough to plug weld, but not but not too big. So then I take a piece of, so after I drill the holes, I got to get the burrs off the backside. If I could, where I can reach, I'd run a file. Where I can, I'd use a sharp piece of steel and I just work it back and forth till the little gnarly comes off the back. So this side just being held on by the weight, I got this underneath here. This side over here, I just got this little file that I was using. I press that and it gets tight all the way down. Well, where's it at? Right there. So now I just plug weld it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so that's how you do it. Quarter, oh man, stick a little proud there. I'm gonna have to grind that flat, dude. What the heck, bro? So anyway, grind those flat, and now I can drill and tap in that. Same thing over here, I got 2 of them. Just grind those flat, set them in there, figure out where they go. I'm going to measure off of there and set that in there. I messed up, I went to Home Depot earlier. I tried this out, this is a 1/4" screw, won't go in the hole. Dang it. So I knew I needed some number 10, 24 screws, but I was so distraught over the fact that they didn't have my 1/4 by 1 1/4 flat bar that I lost it, man. I left. But good thing Buzz around. Buzz Lightyear. Anyway, I'm done for the day. It's 2 o'clock on Saturday. I got a little bit of stuff to do for my house, and I'm out. So I'll see you tomorrow. These are welded up and ground smooth. A little bit of pinholes. Didn't quite get the plug weld in all the way, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm gonna measure the height on these from this distance here, which is gonna be the bottom of the fan, to those dimensions there where these slots are for the mounting holes. I'm going to make sure that this is straight. I'll probably clamp something on here. This piece of flat bar isn't continuous and this moves around a little bit. So I'm gonna make sure that that's straight before I weld those in. I set the fan up in here and it's like 3/4 of an inch all the way out here and 5/8. I went and bought some 1/4 by 5/8 cold roll flat bar. I was gonna use that, but I'm concerned that the gap's gonna be too big. She's got 2 fans on this thing. It's a big Wolf, I don't know, commercial almost. There's 2 fans on here. My only concern is if the gap is too big, it'll have positive pressure. I don't know if the vent itself is big enough to handle 2 fans. I don't know if she'll ever run 2 fans, but I don't want air coming out between there. The problem that I have is I can't have it super tight because they have these rivets on here all the way around. So I need at least a 1/16 of a gap to get past that. So probably what I'll end up doing is I'll let that run a little long and grind it. It'll be the best way. So I'll put the fan in here, I'll square everything up, and if something runs a little wild over here, I'll do like I did up here and I'll just grind it flat. You won't see it because there's a trim over there, 1/2 by 1/2 trim. And this ended up getting bowed a little bit. So what I might do is I'm gonna do all the welding on this side to pull it back to make it straight. So something to think about. So I'm gonna do that. Hood is in. It's just basically kind of sitting there. I went and bought some 1224 sheet metal or machine screws, drilled and tapped holes here. They're kind of randomly placed. When it's all said and done, I'll weld these up so there's no confusion when they go to install for the final time. It's sticking farther out than it needs to, than it should be or what it's going to be. There's a piece of 1/4 inch going on here, but I have it sticking out this far so I can tape a piece of 14 gauge on this edge all the way around. So I end up with somewhere around a 1/16 of an inch gap all the way around. Also too, it's not square this way for some reason. Even though these 2 pieces of steel, these pieces of tubing are sitting on the table and the back of this is sitting on the table. This is the sheared piece. This is the piece that I got, cold roll. It's dead nut square. So I don't know what's going on. If this piece is out of square or whatever. This piece of tubing is just tacked on for now. So when it's all said and done and I have all these gaps and everything set, I'll cut that loose and I'll shim it up off the table so that when it's sitting in there without any pressure on it and it's straight. Another issue I have is this isn't square here, so I have to shim this. I got these shims, so I can shim it. These are good to have around. Another thing too is I need to shim the bottom and get it square because as this goes up, it tightens up. So this needs to be the same dimension all the way around, squared up all the way around, all shimmed. Also too, this piece here has a slight bow in it, so I'll stick some shims in there, get that straight. So that's the next little bit, is to shim everything up, put the spacers that I need, get everything square, straight, then I can start putting the flat bar on. Again, like I told you, it's gonna be flush in some places, it'll be overhanging a little bit. In other places, it's just how it has to be, just because the box itself is out of square, kind of with the cabinet. If I went straight, there'd be too much of a gap on the front of the cabinet where it meets. And if it was square, also too, if the back was as wide as the front, then it would scrape going in and damage the cabinet. So I built it on site for a reason. This is how it ended up. This is how it needs to be. It'll go in that way. So square it all up, shim it all up, space it all up, and then put the flat bar in. That's next. Okay, 1/4 by 5/8. This is the steel I bought first. I didn't think it was gonna be long enough, and it wasn't. But since I shimmed this up, it brought this perfect for that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make some marks on here with a Sharpie. I'm gonna V out a little bit. This is 1/4 inch, this is 1/4 inch. I'll be able to V it out a little bit. I had to straighten this out, even though it's cold roll and it should be reasonably straight. It's pretty thin as far as this way goes. So I just make sure it's straight. It goes up here, obviously. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring this up. I'm gonna tack that on there, and then I'll push this down. And I should be able to manipulate it with heat when I weld on just this side only. So that's the plan. V out, weld up, and then obviously put these pieces in. Okay, got all the edging on. 3/4 inch here, 5/8 here, just how it worked out. Got this piece of 1 inch here to simulate the backsplash. The gap is good, happy with the gap. A little tight here in the middle. I'm gonna do a little more weld on the top, try to pull that around, but overall, another thing that I ran into that I didn't realize, this folds over this. So when this is flush here, this is gonna be in a little bit. So there's a little bit of a reveal there, but nothing I can do about that. So pull that out, weld it up, and start smoothing on it. I gotta go fit it. The cabinet guy's supposed to come tomorrow. I need to put it up so I can see where the crown molding goes, mark it so I can run those pieces up the front. Ready to start grinding and cleaning up. It's all welded. I ground this flat. There's a trim that goes on here and trim that goes here. I'm gonna get these grind marks on. It's reasonably flat. This works really good at this point. This is a 50 grit, 7-inch, nice and flat. This is good for getting the sand scratches out. This is a Harbor Freight special. It has a backing plate with Velcro. They sell both of these. They work really good for smoothing this up. Let me show you. I'm gonna show you. Ready for 80 grit DA. Sweet. All smoothed up, stayed straight, pretty straight. Got just a little bitty bow in it. This side here is straight. Always wear a mask when you're grinding, kids. That's no bueno. Oh, look at this. That's just sitting in there. Haven't really done anything, I just wanted to fit it just to make sure everything was copacetic. So I'm happy. I'm gonna fit it first of all. I'm gonna finish everything, all the trim and all that. And then that's the last thing I'm gonna do is put that in. I'm gonna make sure it's centered up. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. I decided, I'm afraid there's too much movement, so I'm gonna take this off and put a tab in here that can be adjusted to, because I'm almost positive when that thing's clamped to the wall, it's gonna have a little bit of a sag, and that will be no good either. So, waiting for my buddy, we're gonna go install this thing. All right, I'm gonna end this one here. So, next I have to take this thing out and fit it back up and mark where the crown molding is gonna go. So, then I think it should maybe be finished, we'll see. So, anyway, you like the video, subscribe, and check me out on Instagram, and It's a Metal Thing. I'll see you on the next one.